Caleb Downs has a rare blend of physicality and coverage skill that allows Ohio State to stay flexible without losing an edge.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Monday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, that's your sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. During today's show, we will discuss what Cardinal Tate is doing to step up as a leader, as well as a similarity between Brandon Innis and Mylan Graham. But first, during Caleb Downs' first year at Ohio State, there were three different stages, and they were really successful. The first couple of games, he was really getting to know Jim Knowles' defense by getting some game experience. In game number 3, they activated Caleb Downs. And then after the loss to Oregon, Ohio State tinkered with his role, and he started to move around a little bit, and it all worked out to perfection. Well, this year under Matt Patricia, I don't believe there's going to be 3 different stages, but I do believe Matt Patricia is going to find a way to mix Downs' physicality and his ability to cover all over the field to allow the Buckeyes defense to be flexible from game number 1. And last week, during some of the first few practices of training camp, Caleb Downs played a little bit of nickel. Now, part of that was to allow Malik Hartford and Jalen McClain to play the 2 safety spots that will allow them to get on the field and to really see which role fits them the best. But also, maybe Downs might play a different position this year than normal. It's not going to be that he's not going to be the quarterback of the defense and a leader in that way and kind of keep all the communication going, but maybe Matt Patricia's role when he was with the New England Patriots and seeing similarities between Caleb Downs and Patrick Chung might be something that will allow Patricia to be a little bit more flexible and to move Downs all over the field to allow the Buckeyes defense to be at the best it could be. And I believe 100% the Buckeyes can have an elite defense this year. And it doesn't start with Downs, but he's a big part of it. It starts up front. You can't have an elite defense without having the front 4 get the job done, creating pressure in the middle, penetrating the offensive line, going around the edges and getting some elite pass rushers. You need that. But you also need a safety like Downs to mix all of the different skill sets that he has and the traits he has to allow the defense to be elite. And I think if Downs does play that nickel spot, one, that means that really isn't anybody else that they're more comfortable with playing than Downs, Hartford, and McClain. But it also says maybe Downs is going to show off have more game film, playing a different role, being the big nickel that will allow the Buckeyes defense to, 1, be better and to be more versatile and really put fear in opposing offense's eyes. But 2, it will raise his draft stock. And you look at a guy that right now, top 10 pick at worst. I'm saying that because of the positional value. Maybe top 5. I mean, he is that kind of player where he can play free safety. He can play strong safety. And if he plays nickel, a spot that I am on the record of saying that I don't think you're going to have a nickel primarily use a safety to play the nickel spot. That's probably going to be a corner. But in the issue with Ohio State this year, it's not only a bad thing, it's just maybe your best 3 guys for the 2 safety spots and in the nickel, or your best 3 guys for the 3 corner spots, maybe they are not the norm for most years. Tanner McAllister was more of a corner than a safety. And that's just the way I think Jordan Hancock ended up playing safety, but he was primarily a corner, and I think it would have been a really good outside corner if Ohio State needed him to play that role. And I think this year under Patricia, if Patricia wants to find that big nickel, similar to a Patrick Chung. Now, Patrick Chung, I wouldn't look this up. This is via Sports Reference. He is, let me pull this up really quickly. I know he weighed 215 pounds when he played in the NFL, standing at 5'11". So, similar height to Downs, who's standing at 6 feet even, but Downs is 10 pounds lighter at 205. So, it is more of a bigger nickel because a nickel corner is not going to be that physical, isn't going to have the size that Caleb Downs has. It's a clear advantage for Ohio State having Caleb Downs on the team, but it's also a clear advantage for Ohio State that if Downs is playing a bigger nickel spot, that's going to create some mismatches and some headaches for opposing offensive coordinators. Now, I'm now going to go backwards and say some things that and backtrack on things I said last week. Part of me thinks, well, this is twofold. Part of me thinks that Patricia doing this is one, to allow McLean and Hartford to get more reps, to figure out, well, which one's a better free safety, which one's a better strong safety. And then when the media is away and the fans are away, they're going to put the best guy at the strong safety, put Downs at free safety, and then figure out who the best nickel corner is. I still think that's something that they're trying to figure out. Because is it Lorenzo Styles Jr.? Maybe. It might be. That's who I penciled in the spring to be the starter at that position. But I still don't know if I'm 100% comfortable with that move. I know I'm comfortable with McLean and Hartford playing. I would probably give the nod to Hartford right now at the strong safety spot over McLean. But I think you try to get those guys more reps. But number two, and equally as important, is trying to throw a wrench at Texas. Everything happening right now, from Ohio State splitting the teams up and having first and second team kind of intermingled in practice, to on day 3, first day of pads, going full team period. I think a lot of that is, one, the acclimation period before and while installing certain things on offense and defense, but two, you got to get things up to speed very, very quickly. And Texas is watching. Texas is watching a lot of the things Ohio State is doing, especially with Caleb Downs. And while Downs is elite and Downs is going to be a first-round pick at the end of the season, I think the thing with Downs is very similar to, let's say Jeremiah Smith started playing slot instead of playing on the outside. Wait, so you're going to tell me you're going to put Innis on the outside and not put him in the slot? What kind of mismatch would that provide? Is there a nickel corner in the country that can guard Jeremiah Smith? Absolutely not, because there is no one corner in the country that can guard Jeremiah Smith. So that'd be a whole other wrinkle that we didn't hear about Smith playing slot. We did hear about Downs and C. We saw Downs playing the nickel. I think it's kind of a chess match. I'm not going to go away from that. Week 1, if Downs lines up at the nickel corner spot, cool. That's fine. I think it's an advantage Ohio State no matter where he lines up. That's great. But I still think game number 1 against Texas, you're going to get Downs at free, probably Hartford at the strong safety. You could get Lorenzo Styles Jr. at the nickel corner. You could get Bryce West at the nickel spot. I don't think Devin Sanchez or, oh my goodness, name escapes me. There's another corner that came in with Bryce West. Aaron Scott Jr., there you go. I don't think any of them are going to play the nickel. It's possible. It's possible that they could. I just don't think they will. For Downs, his rare blend to intermingle his level of physicality and his ability to cover at an elite level is one that Patricia's going to find every little note and nugget and find a way to put Downs in certain situations to exceed and to excel. Part of it also for him playing at the nickel is his communication skills are elite. I mean, he's elite all over the field. His instincts are insane, but also his ability to communicate all over the field. Well, maybe if you're a little bit closer to everybody else, you're going to be able to help everybody else communicate and know the right page to be on. But I still think I'd be more comfortable with Downs being back, being the last line of defense, seeing everything like he does, and letting that thing help the Buckeyes defense be the best it can be. If they want to put him in that Mike linebacker, a little bit triangle action in between Sonny and Arvell, I'd be cool with that too. I'd also be cool with some of the things Cardinal Tate is doing to be a bigger leader this year and to replace the big shoes Emeka Buka left in the locker room. This episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest. Some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders, whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36. Get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-hour energy shots today. Thank you all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Ohio State's very fortunate right now to not only have Caleb Downs on the team, but to also have Cardinal Tate. And at the end of last season, there are a lot of teams out there trying to pull Cardinal Tate away from Columbus, Ohio, to play football elsewhere. Some were saying the rumors that he was getting offered $1 million to go into the portal to transfer to a new school. He's in Ohio State still. And the Oregon fans might be upset about that. There were some rumors that Oregon was the front runner to potentially land Cardinal Tate. He is still in Columbus, Ohio. He's also playing a bigger role this year because Emeka Egbuka is no longer there. So you have Jeremiah Smith on one side, one outside receiver, Tate's on the other, and Innis is in the slot. With Egbuka gone, and Egbuka being the one stable force that had been there since Tate got to the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, those are big shoes to fill. It holds a receiving record for a career at Ohio State. So that's one thing you got to think about. Like, is he going to be Egbuka? No, he's not going to be the same player. But how can we replace Egbuka's production and leadership? I don't think you can fully replace a guy like that. He is so unique. He's so elite on the field and off. But I'm not going to say you can replace it, but you can be yourself. You can be you to do the things that make you very, very unique and make you a great football player to allow you to carve your own lane and make your own path. And I think that's what Tate needs to do. In this offseason, he has been doing some things, being more vocal than normal, where he is more of a calm and quieter individual. He has been more vocal, and when you have younger guys like a Mylan Graham, or you have a younger guy like a Bodpin Miller, or a Quincy Porter, or Phillip Bell, or Desi Jones, you have these young guys that are just getting on campus that are looking to Jeremiah Smith and Innis and Rogers and Tate and needing these guys to kind of help show them the way of the land, show them how things are done. Well, you can show somebody just by doing it yourself and say, hey, follow the leader that way, being a leader by example, or you can do it by talking to them too. And Tate being more of a vocal leader this year has been huge for Ohio State, not just with the youngsters, but for the guys that are just his running mates. Jeremiah Smith and Brendan Innis, they have known Tate for a while, playing down there in Florida. And so they have already had that connection before they got to Ohio State. But the other guys can't have the same story because their paths are different. When the path is different, you see a guy that's a little bit quieter, but he's good on the field. You wonder, man, like, is he going to be the kind of leader that people can truly follow? Yeah, follow by example, but follow by the voice. And Brandon Innis recently spoke about Cardinal Tate and some of his development and him being a more vocal leader this year. Quote, he's developed a lot. If y'all know Cardinal, he's not a very vocal guy, but he's developed a lot. He's stepping up and saying things every single day. And that's something we challenged him over the summer since the wintertime. We had me and Emeka Egbuka last year. Now it's who else are we going to have, end quote. He goes on to say, quote, Emeka Egbuka left. Smith doesn't talk a lot. So we've got Cardinal. He's been doing very good. I'm proud of him, end quote. And the part about Jeremiah Smith is very, very interesting because he's not just throwing that in there just to throw a guy out there that's a leader, that's the best player on the team, and say, well, he's a dog, but he don't really talk a lot. No, he's talking about someone that's his boy, that he's known for a very long time, and he's not the only person to say it. People that know Jeremiah Smith will tell you he doesn't talk a lot. Brian Smith came on this show, the host of The Portal, right here at the Locked On Podcast Network, came on here numerous times talking about recruiting and talking about Jeremiah Smith's demeanor and that he really doesn't talk like that. So it's not a knock. That's just who he is. But I think what you're going to find with Jeremiah Smith, similar to Cardinal Tate, they're both going to talk a whole lot more. But let's keep it in context, though, not only because it's needed, but because it's kind of fun to look into the story and to get a deeper appreciation for these young athletes. Cardinal Tate's in year number 3. Jeremiah Smith is in year number 2. It was a joke, kind of, but it was reality when Ryan Day said that none of the guys that Ohio State took to Big Ten Media Days as players could check into a hotel room for themselves. They needed someone to do it for them because they're under 21. Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs are 20. Jeremiah Smith is, I believe, 19. Is he 18? He might be 18. He might turn 19 in November. I think he's 19. Anyways, he's young. I'm not trying to speculate on the kid's age. He's still a youngster, sophomore in college. He's young. And so when they are that age, especially when you're trying to push them and challenge them to be more vocal, man, that's a difficult thing to do. One, to challenge one of your boys to do some things better that can help the team, that's difficult. But number two, for the individual being challenged, man, that is tough. I remember when I was 19 years old, I was down in college in Tampa, Florida, and we got challenged every single day to be better and to do certain things and to try to help other people. And it wasn't like I talk a lot. I host a solo show and I'm in the room by myself. So I have a very unique talent to use my voice on the show without an audience. I mean, you are the audience, but you're not here. So it's very unique the way this show is laid out to for your enjoyment every single day. But I talk a lot. You can tell that. When I was 18, 19, 20 years old, I also talked a lot. But when it came to leading people that were either my peers or those that were a little bit younger than me, oh, man, that's difficult. The other thing about trying to lead people that are a little bit older than you, that's difficult too. I know there were some things I had at jobs I had where I wasn't really the issue, but I was blamed for being the issue, and I didn't speak up times that I should have, and that's on me. It's very, very difficult at that age when you think you know so much, but you actually know very little, to look inward when you're challenged and say, I don't know a lot. I need help. It's difficult to say that. Not only saying I need help, but also you have experienced that while you need help with certain things, because Tate's not a perfect athlete, he needs help to be a better receiver. And that's why Hartline is there every day working with the young man. But also, while you're getting help, you can help others. That's difficult. It's a very tough task. And that's what Cardinal Tate is being asked to do right now. And when Innis said last year, is a Buka in him, that is one of Cardinal Tate's peers. So when he is being a leader in the room and he was in year number 2 and Ibuka was in year number 4, Ibuka's gone. Who is there to step up and to fill those shoes in his own way, carving his own lane? It's Cardinal Tate. I think Tate has a very great opportunity to be a first-round receiver. No worse than second round. I'm not saying it's going to come out at the end of this year because that would be a big ask as well. I'm a person, going to say this very quickly before we get deeper into potentially getting some draft conversations coming up very soon on the show. I would love to it's no petition, but if I had a voice for anybody out there, I would hope that I can encourage young athletes to be a 2-year starter before you go out to the NFL. If you have the opportunity. For example, Caden Curry, CJ Hicks, 4-year players. They have no more eligibility left after this year. So while they may be starters or both will be key backups, they got to lay it all on the line. Treat this like a contract year if you're in the NBA because you can't go back. You can't go back at all. In regards to, let's go back to 2018, Dwayne Haskins. Phenomenal quarterback. Broke Big Ten records while he was at Ohio State. I was not a proponent. I was not a fan. The fan in me and the analyst in me said, Dwayne Haskins, great first year. Stay one more year. But I understand you got to go while the iron is hot. The energy was there for him to be a early pick, and he accomplished that goal. But I didn't think he had done enough in college before going to the NFL, based off the 1 year he had, to be a good player. Now, he had struggles in the NFL. Maybe he was going to have those no matter what. But I have always been a person that you get 2 full years of being a full-time starter before going off into the NFL. For Tate, it's interesting because he started last year. He's going to start this year. He has those 2 years, but I think for him, it's similar to a Paris Johnson Jr., but it's also not, because Johnson was a 2-year starter, but he never played the same position 3 years in a row. He went from playing, I think, right tackle to right guard to left tackle, first round pick. So, like, that pass a little bit different. For Tate, he played slot last year, really good slot receiver. Not good enough to be a day 2 pick yet, at least off the last year's film. With this year's film, after he's about to play, I believe he will be at worst a day 2 pick. But part of me wonders if the NFL people will see enough at the end of the season for him to be a first round pick. Because I think he can be. He just has to leave at the right time to make sure he capitalizes on the opportunity right in front of him. I don't know how they go into draft talk, but somehow it found its way right here in the midst of training camp shows right here on Locked On Buckeyes. Speaking of what's going to come up right here on training camp shows on this show is in regards to a couple players that have something very similar that Ohio State should use in a big way this year. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last minute deals. Tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal? Game Time Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LTKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thank you all for tapping Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. From Caleb Downs to Cardinal Tate to a couple young receivers that have one thing in common. It's not only one thing in common. They are two really talented players that will be big piece of the pie for Ohio State this year. One's going to be starting. The other will be the fourth or fifth receiver, probably fifth in rotation for Ohio State, as well as a guy that'll be a special teams player and could return a couple punts here and there. Brandon Innis and Mylan Graham are what I like to call Yak Kings. When the ball is in their hand, you can expect them to turn upfield quickly and get those yards after catch. And for these two guys this year, especially with a young quarterback, no matter if it's Lincoln Kidholz or Julian Sand, young and inexperienced quarterbacks will love receivers that can get the yards after catch. And these two guys have a burst in them when the ball is in their hands that is rare to see. It's so rare. Mylan Graham's burst is out of this world. I remember seeing he catch the ball sometimes going over the middle, and he catches it, and you just see stop, foot in the ground, and boom, almost like a lightning bolt going behind his back, or smoke is going behind his back because he's going so fast. And Mylan Graham, one, he's a fast young man, but number two, the burst he has is going to be something that Ohio State will need to utilize. For Brandon Innis, he's going to start. So remember last segment we were talking about him being a leader and him challenging Cardinal Tate. Well, he's going to be challenged himself to not only be a vocal leader for Ohio State, but to be a leader by example for the Buckeyes. And this goes into something I was thinking about waiting till later in the show to talk about, but I feel like this time is now. The right time is now to bring this up because Brian Hartline has a tendency to use three receivers, maybe four. Last year it was Abuka, Smith, Tate, and primarily Innis were the four receivers. You don't see him use five. You rarely, if ever, see him use six receivers in rotation. And that was something I grew accustomed to under Zach Smith. When Zach Smith was a wide receivers coach, you know he's going to play 5 or 6 guys. All of them are going to be healthy. All of them are going to be solid. And they're going to make big plays. From KJ Hill to Noah Brown, Paris Campbell. I mean, the list goes on, and those are just 3 of them. I could keep going on with more. Austin Mack as well. He found a way to not just have the top end guys be elite, but to have 4, 5, and 6 to be that fulfill their big roles as well. And I think this year is a year that you may see Hartline use more than just the 3 or 4 guys he normally utilizes, where Smith, Tate, and Innis are going to be those guys. It wouldn't shock me at all if 4, 5, and 6 and Bryson Rogers, Mylan Graham, Quincy Porter at 6, maybe. I don't know if you're going to put a true freshman in that 6 role, but he definitely could fulfill that thing. If that is your 6, you might just lean on 5 because those guys have been in the program. They know what you are as a coach, especially when you're handling a new role. You might be more comfortable with 5. And I'd be comfortable with 5. It's just college football. Health is very, very important. And when health is important, you're playing more games than normal at this level. What do you need to do? Find ways to allow players to be as healthy as they can be at the latter part of the season. And at the receiver position, where Ohio State generally doesn't, well, I'll say generally, past 2 years it had some injury issues. Ibuka 1 year got a little dinged up. And Jigba got dinged up. I think it was in 2022 after his Monster 21 season, which resulted in him breaking Rose Bowl and even bowl records. 2022 we got a little dinged up. So it is something to think about when Ohio State played, what was it, 16 games last year? 16 games a year ago. You could easily see them play 16 games again this year. Well, if they're playing 16 games again this year, wouldn't you want to find ways to allow the players to be very, very healthy as long as they can be for the entirety of the season? Absolutely. I might ruffle some feathers, what I'm going to say to close up this show, but I feel like it is needed because it is appropriate for today. There are people out there. It's a random thought I have. If it sounds random, it's because it is. There are people out there that believe that college football is playing too many games, and these player safety is at a premium, and playing from Labor Day up until the middle of January is a very, 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 very long season, and it is too long. One, I believe they can condense the season for it to make a whole lot more sense. But two, if you go out there and you look at the high school football schedules for any state, look at Ohio, look at Indiana, look at Michigan, look at Kentucky, look at West Virginia, look at Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, California. If you look at all these high school schedules in the regular seasons, you may find they may play 9. They may even play 8 regular season games. And then you might find that in the postseason, where when I was in school, everybody got into the tournament. You might find in some areas that a select few get into the tournament. What you're going to find is there might not be an off week, and they might play 4 or 5 or 6 more games. When I was a youngster, there were 9 games in the regular season, 6 games in the postseason, and which resulted in 15 games. There was no off week at all. And this is the top of the top in the state of Indiana. Think about Warren Central back then. I think they won 3 or maybe even 4 straight state championships. Darren Evans, Jeremy Finch, those names might ring a bell. A couple of guys that went off to play in college. Jeremy Finch went to Florida. Jeremy Evans went to Virginia Tech, also made it to the NFL as well. And so that school was just different, 100% different. But they went 15-0, 15-0, 15-0. I mean, they were unstoppable, unbeatable when they were in high school. And so I understand the thought that the season is too long, there are too many games. I don't believe there are too many games. I used to believe that. When I look back at the high school level, a lot of schools and states are playing 14 or 15 games to simply win their state championship, and some may only have 1 off week. So I'm not going to say it's too many games. I think the season should be condensed. Starting at Labor Day is great. But find a way to not have a week and a half or 2-week break. Let's say you're Oregon from a year ago. Oregon went from winning the Big Ten title on the first Saturday in December to not playing again until New Year's Day. That's ridiculous. 100% ridiculous. Ohio State went from playing Thanksgiving weekend, which was the 30th of November, 29th of November, to not playing again until December 20th or 21st. That's too long of a break. So I don't think that the issue is the number of games. I think these breaks, these long, long breaks, that sometimes are mandated via the contract, That's too much. So I don't know how I got on that show or how that topic. I know we were talking about player safety, and I had to get something off my chest because people have been saying there's too many games, too many games. I think the issue is a calendar more than the amount of games that are being played in college football right now. I'm done, y'all. I don't know how we got on that topic, but let's land this plane. The Yak Kings at Ohio State. Brandon Innis, Mylan Graham, their ability to get yards after the catch is going to be needed for Ohio State to allow San or Ken Holtz to get into a rhythm, but also they're going to help Ohio State stay healthy for the long haul. Maybe it's a 16 game, maybe it's a 17 game season. Whichever one it's going to be, those two guys in particular are going to help Ohio State's receivers be fresh all season long. Thank y'all for tapping Locked on Buckeye and making this show your first listen of the day. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317 at gmail.com. It says Locked on Buckeyes on a Monday. We'll see you next time.